If you'd like to make your NFL games a little more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Podcast and it is presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 rated sportsbook app, and with good reason. You have come to the premier NFL betting show that I'm aware of. It's 30 minutes. We don't mess around. We make sure you know how we did the week before and what lessons we can learn moving forward so you can track how we're doing, and we win. We win. That's what we do. 3-0 on our best bets in week 5 in the NFL. I'm up another 4 units for the week, which puts me up 14 units year to date so far. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. If you check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, you can check out all of my helmets behind me that I think you'll like, some game balls and stuff. Please subscribe there, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. You can also, if you take advantage of any of our sponsors like DraftKings, can ask Steve a question. When we get to more buys, more teams not playing, we'll have time every once in a while to ask Steve a question. Steve, of course, is the star of the show, the only 2-time winner of the Super Bowl of professional football gambling at the Westgate Casino out there in Las Vegas. He is at Fezzik Sports on Twitter. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can make sure to get the highlight clips of all of our shows either on the YouTube page or by following at Ross Tucker Pod. Steve, we have the ever popular Tuesday night football game tonight. How are you?
It's nice to have an NFL Tuesday game instead of Maction. So big upgrade for Tuesday football.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to get to that we need to talk about with all the schedule moving around. 3 games are off the board for week 6 because there's a quarterback issue, and we've got a couple teams that still need to play in week 5 before they set a line for them for week 6. Let's start with last week, Steve. We do it every week. It's presented by DraftKings because that is the odds that we give out. We want people to know what we did the week before. Look, we track it because we win. And we know that that's our biggest selling point as a podcast. I'm sure there are shows that are funnier than us. We just win for you, okay? So it depends on what you want to do. You want more money? You should come with us. 3-0 on our best bet, Steve. Last week, Bucks, Bears, we had nothing on it. Then we got to our first best bet. Falcons and Panthers. And this is why, Steve, we do the show on Tuesday, and this is why we do so well. Falcons and Panthers, we got it when it was the Panthers getting 3 points. I put 3 units on it. You put 2 units on it. So it was a best bet and a multi-unit best bet. And then what happened was that line went down to 1 at one point. By kickoff, it was back up to 2.5. It didn't matter. Carolina won 23-16, Steve, and Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff got fired in Atlanta.
Yeah, continuity for Carolina completely disrupted. Brand new coaching staff. Bridgewater comes in. Tons of new starters, especially on defense. This team missed the cover barely the first 2 weeks. Since then, Carolina has massively exceeded expectations.
They really have. It's been impressive. The next game, we both laid units on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I thought you swore off betting on the Raiders years ago on this show. I didn't have as much guts as you. I put 1 unit. I thought maybe Mahomes would bounce back from that Patriots game with a big one. It didn't happen. Steve, you put 2 units on it. You were feeling it, and the Raiders won outright, 40-32. We were getting 12.5. I think that was the DraftKings Sportsbook app line. I think that line might have even come down to 11, 11.5. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but another good best bet for us.
Yeah, and 10s actually popped up on game day. Hey, I swore I would never bet on the Oakland Raiders again, and I won't. But the Vegas Raiders, okay. You know, Kansas City had 4 losses last year, and the narrative seems to be, it was a bad spot. They had back-to-back Monday Night Football games against New England and Baltimore before this game. It's totally excusable. Hey, they lost 4 games last year. Well, the 4 games they lost last year, they lost 2 games at home when Mahomes got his ankle mashed and was completely ineffective in the fourth quarter. They lost a game without Mahomes, and they lost a game against the Titans when Mahomes had just come back and they had a 98% chance to win. So I am concerned about the fact there's no asterisk by this loss. They just got beat.
Yeah. I mean, they really, really did. There's no question about it. And I would say this, Steve, they have looked vulnerable in 3 of their 5 games. The Chargers game, they probably should have lost. Patriots game, if Brian Hoyer could have played a little bit better than that, they looked vulnerable there too. So I think it's a good point by you. Next game was the Rams and Washington. We both stayed away because the quarterback change in Washington. Jags, Texans stayed away with the coaching change. Cardinals, Jets. Again, we stayed away from that one with the quarterback change for the New York Jets. Neither quarterback change had a big impact. We should have laid the points with the Cards and the Rams. Then we get to the Eagles and the Steelers. The Eagles were getting 7 points, and the total was 45 on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I took the Eagles getting the 7 points. I mean, fourth quarter, it was 31-29, and the Eagles had the ball. They were kicking a field goal to take the lead. And I thought I was in good shape and that the Steelers at best would get a field goal the other way. Eagles put a linebacker on Chase Claypool, let him get his 4th touchdown. And so I end up losing that as the final score was 38-29. That one hurt a little bit. You went big, Steve, 3 units on the under, and I was totally with you on your logic there. But it's like you can't go unders in 2020.
You really can't, seemingly. They finally started calling some holding penalties on the offense. Week 5, we saw, I think, 2.3 holding calls, which was in line with last year's numbers. Up to that point, only 1.6. But this lack of crowd noise is just so beneficial to the offenses that it's just really, really difficult to cash an under. Average scoring in the NFL this year, 51 points per game.
Bengals-Ravens. It was about the same line as the Washington and Ravens game had been. I thought I was getting some value with the Bengals. Evidently not. I put a unit on them getting 13.5 points. They get smashed 27-3. They got players like A.J. Green that have no interest in actually playing. Very disappointing. Dolphins-Niners. Wow, we didn't have anything on it, but that was surprising. Giants, Cowboys, obviously the big news there is Dak. We didn't have anything there. Our next best bet was Browns, Colts. Again, the Browns were getting 3 points. I think this was maybe 1.5 by the time it kicked off, Steve. We got the better of the number yet again. We both put 2 units on it, and the Browns won outright. 32-23. They win by 9, even though they were getting 3 points. Another multi-unit best bet winner for us. We were 3-0 on those. You also, Steve, put 2 units on the under. I was with your logic there. I was really with your logic on both unders. You just can't do it. I mean, there was a pick 6. There was a safety. There was a bunch of things in that game.
Yeah, and Cleveland actually closed -1.5. So think how good that +3 was on the Browns early in the week. Kudos to Stefanski. Cleveland's been pounding the rock effectively. They've run the ball more than half the time. So Indy stacked the box against them, and Stefanski's like, fine, we'll throw 18 plays to start the game. 12 of them are passes. That's the sign of a good coach, a team that's winning. that just ran the ball down Dallas's throat, and yet they adjust and throw early in the game. So a coach like that is going to win you a lot of games.
Got it. Then you move on to Vikings Seahawks. I put a unit or 2 units. I did a 2-team teaser with the Vikings Seahawks. I teased the Seahawks from -7 down to -1, and Chargers Saints teased the Saints down from -8 to -2. You know, I got to be honest with you, Steve. I don't love that I did that in hindsight because I thought the Chargers and Vikings would hang close in both those games. I really did. I guess if you think they're going to hang close, not games to tease, I end up pushing on the Seahawks Vikings and winning the Saints Chargers because the Chargers kicker stinks and it went to overtime. So what technically happens there, Steve? Because I got to be honest with you, I wasn't 100% sure. One of the two won and the other one pushed.
As long as you have a push on either leg, the teaser is a push. So even if the Saints had lost, you would have pushed your teaser. If you go 1-0-1 or 0-1-1, that tie is the number one factor in grading a teaser. You can't have a 1-team teaser, so it's a refund.
Got it. Okay, so it's a push. Got it. Okay, so then for the year, for the week, I was up 4 units. You were up 1 unit. So we both were in the black for the year. I am now up 14 units for the season. You're down 3, but we were 3-0 on our best bets. So we are 8-6 on our best bets so far this year after being 3-0 last week. Let's dive into week 6 in the NFL. Kind of. I think we got to start with week 5, Bri. There's still another game to discuss.
I think we did this last week, but let's do it again. Buffalo, 3-point favorites at the Tennessee Titans with a total of 51.5. Ross, why don't you start it off?
Well, I'm showing, I don't know, Bri. I'm showing the Bills are laying 3.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook app. I don't know if I need to refresh my page or whatever. But I'm showing the Bills laying 3.5 on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, Steve. The total is 51.5. I'm going to stay away from the game. You know what? I'm torn here. I'm definitely going to stay away from the spread. There's just so much uncertainty. I kind of want to put 1 unit on the over 51.5. I'm not doing it. I'm staying away, Steve. I'm wimping out.
Now, the irony is you said there's so much uncertainty in the game, and I saw the Ivy League, cranium spinning its wheels and wait a minute, if there's so much uncertainty, shouldn't I be passing this game? And I agree with you, even though I only have a Northwestern education. I'm sure there's a right side on this game. I'm not smart enough to figure it out in terms of evaluation of all the players and the COVID issues, so a pass.
Steve, let's move on to Sunday where we have the Chicago Bears laying. No, actually, they're getting 2.5 points at the Carolina Panthers. Total is 44.
Yeah, so I talked about Carolina being a team I want to bet on. 3 straight upset wins. I'll lean to Carolina here. I'm disappointed in the line. So think about it. The market is well aware how good Carolina is. The fact that they're hosting a 4-1 team and they're laying 2.5 points. I pass.
It does seem like the market's corrected, although maybe the market's just still skeptical of the Chicago Bears at this point. I think the Bears defense is good enough that they're going to keep them in this one. So this will be one leg of a 2-team teaser for me. I'm going to tease the Bears up to 8.5. I do think the defense, they've had extra time to prepare for this one and rest after the Thursday nighter. So I'm going to put Bears up to 8.5, and I will tease the Ravens, who are laying 7.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tease the Ravens down to -1.5. So 2-team teaser, Bears up to 8.5, Ravens down to -1.5, 2 units.
Next one, Ross, it's the Detroit Lions. They're actually favored against Jacksonville, at Jacksonville, 54.5 total.
Yeah, and you didn't say the line, Bri.
3 points.
Favored.
Oh, sorry about that. Detroit favored by 3.
Again, I'm seeing 3.5. I don't know why we're off here, Bri, but I'm seeing 3.5. What am I looking at? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 3.5. I'm passing the game. I think the Lions will probably cover. I think the Jags are bad right now, but my buddy Steve Fezzik at Fezzik Sports told me you don't get a lot of value with those 3.5 right through that key number there. So I'm going to pass Lions Jags. A lot of unknown with those two teams.
So I'm going to use a handicapping method I call the rule of 3. I'm going to take that 3.5 point spread. I'm going to move it up and down. If you told me that this spread was Lions -0.5, I'd say, maybe that's a little bit low. It doesn't seem out of the realm of possibilities. If you told me it was Detroit -6.5, I'd say that's the most ridiculous, dumb line I've ever seen. The Lions are horrible. So if I can do that and get a reasonable line in one direction and an unreasonable line in the other direction that says 3.5 is too high, hold your nose. I'll play Jacksonville plus the 3.5, 2 units.
Steve, you know who else is horrible? It's the Atlanta Falcons, and they're getting 3.5 points at the Minnesota Vikings, 55.5 our total.
There's no doubt Atlanta's horrible, and yet 5 straight weeks on Sunday, we've seen money come in on the Falcons. This all started week 1. They're cutting in line to bet the Falcons hosting Seattle, and they made Atlanta the favorite, and they did it this past Sunday. Money in on the Falcons against Carolina. So is it going to happen one more week? Possibly. I hope it does, because I'd love to lay 3 with the Vikings, even without Dalvin Cook. It's just a lean to the Minnesota -3.5 and -3. I'd be on the Vikings.
Yeah, you really don't know what to expect after the coaching change like that. That's the thing that gives me a little hesitation here. So I'm going to pass the game. I would lean Minnesota, though. If I was going to play the game, I would lay the 3.5 with Minnesota.
Houston, Tennessee is off the board because Tennessee is obviously playing tonight. So, Ross, we will skip to Washington. They are getting 3 points at the New York Giants with a total of 43.
Yeah, and I'm seeing Bri. You're looking at DraftKings, right, Bri?
I am.
Yeah. All right. I'm seeing. I'm going to pull it up on my phone too and make sure we're looking at the same thing. I don't know, Steve. I'm seeing the Giants laying 2.5.
On my screen, I don't see a number for this game. I will say every other book in the world has 3 on this game. It would certainly, DraftKings steals opinions. It wouldn't surprise me if they put it at 2.5.
Got it. Well, I'm seeing 2.5. I refreshed my page. I'll do it one more time just to make sure, because that obviously makes a big difference. And I'll lay 1 unit with the Giants. That's back-to-back games that they've been right there. They've played pretty well. They very easily could have won the game. So I'm just confirming, it's 2.5. Maybe I have a question, Steve. Do you think that there's different lines in different locations, perhaps? Because they can geolocate on my app?
I don't think so, because I've got the Don Best screen, the premium in front of me, and every other line is matched the line that you have said, Ross, that you've got on your site. And also I can go onto the site for DraftKings, and pull up those lines. So I think it's a great point that I think certain books like William Hill out there go ahead and deal different numbers. But I think DraftKings, which is really a premium book now, deals one line regardless of what state they're in.
All right. Well, I like the way the Giants have played the last couple games, and I think they're going to break through and they're going to get a win. I'm going to lay the 2.5, 2 units on the G-men.
And I'll lean to Washington. I really don't have much separating these two teams. And I got to tell you, Haskins not quarterbacking, I really think it's a positive for Washington. Having said all that, Washington, if you watch that game against the Rams, you cannot bet on Washington in a monsoon That was the most lopsided 20-point win in the history of the NFL. The Rams won that game by 100 points. I pass.
Next game, Steve, it's the Cleveland Browns. They are getting 3.5 points at the Pittsburgh Steelers. 50.5 our total. Are we in agreement on this one?
I'm going to ride the Browns here, plus the 3.5 for 2 units. Not much separating these two teams. I do have Pittsburgh, the better team, but home field is not worth much. And frankly, the Pittsburgh elite defense has not been quite as good as expected. And Big Ben has only been serviceable. Now, he found Claypool, he found a new receiver, and they had great chemistry. Let's see how much of that was about the Eagles' defense versus Claypool being an actual weapon. Sure looks like the Steelers are going to win by 3. And if they do, I'll lock in the plus 3.5, 2 units.
You know, I would be all over Cleveland plus 3.5. But after Baker Mayfield got hurt, he threw it a couple times on Sunday, and I could see him wincing and like this after that, and that's why they just handed the ball off and they were able to grind it out. Makes me a little bit nervous. I'm definitely betting the Browns to get a best bet. I'm just torn between 1 unit and 2 units. I'm going to go 1 unit. I'm torn, Steve. I'm going to go just 1 unit because of the Baker Mayfield injury factor. I'm a little bit nervous about him. 1 unit on the Browns plus 3.5. That's a best bet.
The best bet.
All right, Ross, the Baltimore Ravens favored by 7.5 points at the Eagles, 46.5 total.
Yep, already talked about this. I like this is the second leg of a 2-team teaser with the Chicago Bears. Tease the the Ravens down to minus 1.5 to go with the Bears at plus 8.5. 2 units.
I'm going to pass this game. You know, one thing that stands out, doesn't it seem like Baltimore's road trips are like the shortest road trips in the history of the NFL, where they're always traveling like 1 hour. So over the course of the season, if you believe that those miles accumulate on a team, this has got to be the easiest travel schedule I've ever seen, for a team so far. I'll pass the game.
Steve, the next game is Cincinnati, and they're 8-point underdogs at the Colts, 47 the total.
Well, Ross is having all kinds of fun with his teasers, so let me do a teaser. I do think Indianapolis will win the game against a Burrow-led Bengal team. They were horrible, just horrible against Baltimore. Burrow looked lost. I'm going to go 2 units. I'll tease the Colts down, and I'll tease them into the fish, Miami Dolphins as well. So a 2-unit teaser bet.
Exact same thing for me. I already had it circled. Colts down to -2. Dolphins down to -2. Colts -2 versus the Bengals. Miami -2 versus the Jets. That's a 2-unit bet for me as well. I'm also, am I allowed to do this, Steve? Can I also put a unit on the under 47 in the Bengals Colts? You can still do that, right?
Ross, it's your show. You can do anything you want, but absolutely,
right.
You can do it if you can bet it.
1 unit. We all know what's happened with unders this year, but 1 unit, 47 seems like a lot. Colts defense is good. Bengals offense struggling. Colts offense struggling. Bengals D actually was okay against Baltimore. 1 unit on the under 47 there.
Hey, one quick note on the Bengals. I've heard rumors, hey, the Eagles should trade for A.J. Green because the Eagles have no receivers. I don't know if anyone's been watching, but poor A.J. Green is done. I don't think this is effort. I think that this is just too many birthdays.
Ross, our next game would have been Denver, New England. That one is off the board. The next one after that is Jets, Miami. You guys both did your 2-team teaser on that. So we will move on to Green Bay and Tampa Bay, where I'm showing the Green Bay Packers 1.5-point favorites with a total of 54.
Yeah, me too, Bri. I'm going to tease the Bucs up to plus 7.5. They're getting 1.5. I'm going to tease them up to plus 7.5. They might lose, but I don't think they're going to get blown out. I'm going to pair that with the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. They're getting 2.5. I'm going to tease that up to plus 8.5. Andy Dalton might lose, but they're not going to get blown out by the Arizona Cardinals either. 2 unit, another 2-team teaser. Unbelievable. 3 Two Team Teasers, all 2 units for me.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the math behind all these teasers and teasing through the 3 and 7, there's a book out there called Sharp Sports Betting by Stanford Wong, who was more known for blackjack advantage play. But I used to work with Stanford, actually, and although they're called Wong teasers, I can tell you that there's a whole lot of non-Wong guys, including myself, that were playing these teasers we've been doing this for 30 years. So I agree with Ross's teaser. I will put 2 units on the same teaser. Best bet.
The best bet.
Sunday night football, Steve. The Rams at the 49ers. Rams 3.5-point favorites and a total of 50.5.
Wow, were the 49ers terrible. But, at some point, you got to wonder if this Rams schedule is going to catch up to them. This is their 4th road trip in 5 weeks, which is already a daunting task. Now put it in a COVID year, and where have they gone? I mean, they've gotten 3 trips to the East Coast already. Because of that, I think that this is a really, really bad spot for the Rams, although you could argue such a big divisional game that'll help mitigate the fatigue. Nevertheless, I'll lean to a 49er team that was just horrible last week.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with the Rams. I know that's not a good number. I know 3.5 is a key number. The Rams have been incredibly consistent this year. They got a really good team, and that's every week when they go out there. The Niners have been dreadful now 2 weeks in a row. Who knows who their quarterback is or how they play? I'll put 1 unit on the Rams laying the 3.5 points.
2 Monday night games, Ross, and Kansas City Buffalo is the first one. That one obviously off the books because off the board, I should say, because Buffalo is playing tonight. The other game, Arizona-Dallas. Arizona 2.5-point favorites, 54.5 the total, but you've already made your bet. Any other bets?
I don't have anything else. It's just the second leg of the teaser I have with the Bucks. Bucks up to 7.5, Cowboys up to 8.5.
So quick math behind the Andy Dalton replacing Dak. I have Dak my 5th best quarterback, but Dalton is the best backup quarterback. I have him number 28. 3-point difference between the two. What does that mean to the expectation for Dallas? Basically means Dallas has about a 10% less chance of winning each game the rest of the year. That's 11 games. That's 1.1 fewer wins for Dallas. So it's not like Dallas is suddenly going to lose every game because Dalton takes over, and Dalton's still better than Darnold and a bunch of stiffs on the bottom of my quarterback listings. Horrible spot for Arizona. 3rd straight road trip. And again, not trivial road trips. The first 2 were to the East Coast. Obviously, Arizona's going to get sky high for the Cowboys, but at some point, and Ross is a former player, let me ask you, do you ever remember a road trips from hell where you were just traveling 20,000 miles in the first half of a year and it caught up to you?
No, I don't, other than when we went to Osaka, Japan in the preseason. But no, I really don't. And I remember we had years where we had to go to the West Coast a couple of times. We actually smashed Seattle, smashed the Niners. So, no, we'll have to see. Got it. All right. I think that's it, right, Steve? Right, Bri?
That's it.
Love it. All right. So there you have it. A lot of teasers, a lot of best bets. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for listening to the Even Money Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, The Fantasy Feast, Business of Sports, and The College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.